Hello and welcome back. Before we get to part 2, Real Talk, please allow us to fulfill our capitalistic duty and plug our Patreon, the Contrarians Supplements.
That's right. For a small fee, you too can help the Contrarians rage on.
We have tiers ranging from just $1 to $10. It all depends on how much content you can handle.
Starting at $1, it's the Travoltis tier, which gets you access to new bonus episodes focusing on a new movie every month, as well as access to the patron chat. Join other patrons in making fun of our opinions.
Moving up to $3 is the Winoni's tier, which unlocks access to our pre-recording notes, our video reviews, and our spin-off show, Contrarians After Hours.
That's a more laid-back space where we talk about other things we've been watching, reading, playing, thinking about. Sometimes it's related to the movies being covered on the main feed, but it usually isn't.
If you want to be part of those patrons who help us shape the show by telling us which movies to tackle, that's when you sign up for the $5 tier, the Embries, and the $10, the Gads.
Finally, all supplement subscribers, regardless of the tier, get access to our archive of special patron projects. Head over to patreon.com/contrarianprime now to join.
Be sure to listen through the end of the episode to find out what's coming up to the Contrarian Supplements this month. Now, it's time for some Real Talk.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Julio, did you see The Matrix in the movie theater?
I did. Not on my first attempt, and that will be part of my Matrix story. When we delve into Contrarian story time. How about you, Alex? You said you were 8?
No, 8th grade.
Oh.
So I was 13 or so. No, I watched a VHS copy of it. I also have a story to go along with it. But when you watch this for the first time, because you would have been a little bit more sound mind than myself, did you feel like you were watching something that was potentially going to revolutionize the filmmaking industry?
I probably didn't have the forethought to even think about that. I think I was too young to really.
Hey, let me ask you this: have you had that with any movie?
Yes. Yeah. It was not Avatar. Hang on. What was it where I'm like, well,
The Dark Knight is one for me.
No, The Dark Knight was just like, this is great. No, when I watched Superman Returns, which is not a great movie, but I know I told this story, I think when we were at the countdown, maybe talking about memorable movie experiences, because the 3D in Superman Returns, which is only like 4 scenes, I think, in the entire movie, but when I put my 3D glasses on and it looked amazing, and I remember thinking, oh, this is a game changer. And it quite wasn't. It was like Avatar was years later, but it was sort of something that looked like could be the future. Are you talking about just movies or just in general anything?
I mean, anything. I'm trying to circle back.
Like Britney Spears.
Yes. I've seen pop acts and like things that happen on television. I'm like, well, this is going to change some shit. I was too young to understand that. And I'm trying to think of
Toy Story. The first Toy Story. I remember thinking, holy shit, this is not animation like I know animation. And it's really good. And they're probably going to make a lot more of this.
I genuinely, I say that, The Dark Knight always comes up, but I remember watching that movie, like in my mind as how old was I? 21. I was 21. I was freshly 21. Just being like, this is going to change things. And it did.
For the worst.
For the better? No. But I didn't know that at the time. I remember our old boss, he told me at one point, I can't remember how we got to this, but he said he saw Scream the weekend it came out, and he left the theater being fully aware that he told me that he was aware he just watched something that was going to change the movie industry. And
that is surprisingly insightful.
Yes. I agree.
Considering the source. Yeah.
And just considering the source, I had to like help him formulate his thoughts because he was just like, I thought it was, yeah, what do they call it? Influence. It was like a game changer. It's like game changer. And but so I kind of churched up his thoughts there. But anyway.
Well, with The Matrix, I'll tell you this, Alex. I thought it was really cool when I watched it. That was, I don't know that I had that thought of this is changing everything. This is going to influence so much going forward. But I remember watching and thinking, this is not like anything I've seen before. And it's really cool. And I can't wait to come back and watch it again.
If we were where we are right now, as far as age and knowledge, perceived knowledge, I might add, and we were implanted in March of 1999, we went and saw this movie. I'm not sure even in that moment, you'd be able to comprehend how much this is going to change the movie industry, but specifically for like the next 5 to 6 years, how everything is going to try to look like, every action movie, I should say, is going to try to look like this movie. Was it really cool in the theater? Like the bullet dodging and all that shit? I imagine it was, because I watched it on a fucking TV monitor that's smaller than the laptop I'm recording on right now. And I was like, whoa!
It was, but I don't remember. Sometimes it's just a lot more of a basic reaction when you're younger.
That's very true.
Just walk out of it and you're like, that was really cool. And I can't really, much like our old boss, I couldn't really have been too articulate about it at the time. Just like, hey, they looked cool and the music was cool and it just kind of flew by and the fight scenes were pretty awesome. And, that level of discourse. I don't think that I've seen it in theaters since its theatrical run. It's not just the 2024 re-release, but I think The Matrix is one of those that the Paramount brings out every now and then.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I'm kind of curious what it would be like today. How much of the big screen experience would contribute to the overall enjoyment. But
yeah, I've never actually seen it in the theater. I should be more mindful of catching it there at some point. So, trying to set the stage there of even with our young minds, kind of just like, wow, this is crazy. But also relaying that to if we had the level of film experience, I guess you would say, if we've seen as many movies and we're as aware of trends and stuff as we are now, I'm not sure it was foreseen by anyone or prophesized for the, to keep in the theme here, how influential this movie was going to be overall, but specifically for, like I mentioned, about the 5 years that followed it. With a $63 million budget, which seems very modest for this movie, to be honest with you. It grossed nearly $470 million, had a just staggering overachievement at the box office, but also video rentals were a huge part of this. And it was a movie that was pretty heartily received by critics. But I got to be honest with you, Julio, that 83% of Rotten Tomatoes kind of surprised me.
You thought it would be higher?
Yeah, I thought this would be one of those like 90 and above. I mean, you can, if you want to, critique aspects of this. And look, I got to be honest. If what Keanu Reeves, if what the Neo character is and the way he's playing it in this does nothing for you, yeah, this is probably going to fall kind of on its face. Or if you
but
don't,
how could it not, though? I mean, as far as I'd be curious, what your expectation of the Neo character is. If this is not the portrayal that you want. You know what I mean?
Because it's also Keanu. I guess I should rephrase that and just saying, if Keanu does nothing for you, then yes. I can understand that.
Okay, I agree with that statement. Yes.
Okay.
That said, I mean, I like Keanu overall. I've enjoyed a lot of his performances, but there are times where I'm like, nope, this is not working. The Matrix is not one of them, though. All right, so let's get the run quotes out of the way, because much like you, I have things I can nitpick when it comes to the movie, and I think it's one of those where it's going to be hard to separate the legacy from the actual movie, but we shall do our best.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
All right, let's go with Jay Carr from the Boston Globe, who says, supposedly the Wachowskis have been working on The Matrix since before they made Bound. Unfortunately, they seem to have been busy adding to it rather than pairing and simplifying. Their script manages to be both silly and dense.
Brother, you just wait.
You thought this was silly and dense? That is amazing, though, to go from Bound to The Matrix. And I love Bound, but it doesn't tell you that Bound doesn't hint as to The Matrix as their follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And also to go from Bound, which I think was a success, to The Matrix, which was life-changing for many people involved. That's wild. And I wonder if Jay Carr likes Bound. Because if he doesn't like Bound, it's like, man, what are you complaining about now?
Yeah, I think I read like the first treatment of what would become The Matrix was in 96. So it had been a while.
That was Kevin Smith with Dogma, which, I mean, I know we're not comparing Dogma with The Matrix, but...
I would hope not, Julio.
But you know what I mean? He was like, there's no way I can get this financed. So let's make a couple of movies first that I can get financed easily. And then once I have a little bit of weight to throw around in Hollywood, I can just, get somebody to pay for the giant poop monster and Alan Rickman's wings. And he did it. It worked. Next, let's go to Paul Tatara from CNN.com, who says, speaking of Keanu is so vehemently semi-talented, he's actually gotten to the point where he seems to be snickering at his own uncomprehending performances right there in front of you. Is the performance... This guy's positing that Keanu's performance is a joke, but that's okay because he is in on the joke. Or maybe it's not okay because he gave it a rotten score. I think that Keanu is in on the joke on many of his roles, but I don't think that he's... I think he's taking this one seriously.
I would agree.
Yeah, he's not winking at the cameras. Did you see my kick? Next, Paul Burns from Sydney Morning Herald says, this is a film so gorged on computer game aesthetics that the theater seats ought to have joysticks. It's already a hit after one weekend in the US, but for me, Game Over was a long time coming. Video game vibes, Alex?
For someone who didn't know what video games in 1999 were, I guess maybe, but...
Morpheus' Rescue is very shooter-like for a video game.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like a very light rail shooter, like an arcade game, that has the action sequences while it says like don't shoot. And yeah, I could see that
Yes.
like in a House of the Dead or Time Crisis.
Maybe a little bit of a Street Fighter. The fights, the Neo Morpheus battles.
God, it's so fucking cool, man. That's the whole point. Like, video games were about to experience an actual revolution in the next year, and they did not look as good as this movie does. And so yeah, I get the point he's coming from, but I'm also just being fucking pedantic and a huge fucking nerd right now, splitting hairs.
Well, I mean, I understand what he's saying. I just don't agree with it. I don't think that the movie, it doesn't say video game and its aesthetic. I think that maybe some sequences can feel that way, but overall, it feels like its own thing. And granted, not necessarily. We'll get into Grant Morrison's allegations in a little bit, but let's close the quote with John Griffin from the Montreal Gazette, who says, as a special effects tour de force, an example of producer Joel Silver's credo that nothing exceeds like excess, it exerts a campy, kinetic appeal. The Matrix is so awful, it's almost awesome.
Forgot to mention Joel Silver there in the first half.
That was his motto. So awful, it's almost awesome. A Joel Silver production.
Yeah, that mantra lived with The Matrix. Most people that you talk to would say the first Matrix sucks. It was it was one of those movies that was so bad it was good.
I don't know a whole lot. Maybe we'll delve into this a little bit more in post credits. So consider this, dear listeners, a tease for our video, but I want to bring it up here just to acknowledge it. Two things that I was completely unaware of when I first watched The Matrix and then numerous times after. But then eventually I read about it on the internet and whatever. Do you know Grant Morrison, the comic book writer?
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote a comic called The Invisibles. And when The Matrix came out, Grant Morrison threw a massive tantrum and said that the movie was ripping off his comic.
Okay.
And I've never read the comic, The Invisibles. Grant Morrison in general, he's pretty hit or miss with me. He can be really fucking weird. So I 100% believe that he might have written a comic book that had some ideas at least shared with The Matrix. I'm pretty sure that The Matrix is more streamlined and easier to understand than whatever Morrison wrote, if it was the same idea. But I haven't read The Invisible, so I really can't tell. I know that there are a lot of people that say that he's blowing it out of proportion, that there's just a couple of elements that overlap and he's just obsessed with that part. And then I've seen people that also, they're like, oh no, he's right. That Wachowski's ripped him off. I will try to do my due diligence, Alex, and explore a little bit more. I'll go down this rabbit hole to see if there's more specifics as far as what he says they're ripping off. If is the Invisible Star, Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity, then we may have a problem. But I think it's probably more like the idea of, oh, there's reality and then there's a simulation. Maybe. I don't know. It's Grant Morrison is pretty out there whenever you read interviews with him. So, and when you read his comics, so we'll see. And then the other thing that I want to bring up, because it's become prominent, in the past decade or so, maybe even longer, since the Wachowskis transitioned. Some people say, maybe even the Wachowskis say, that The Matrix, the entire franchise, that it is about the trans experience. And I've never watched the movies with those lenses. Like I would say, it never occurred to me, and it never, and after I heard about it, I didn't really go and rewatch them. And today when I was watching this, I was like, I'm watching for the show, so I'm trying to do a lot of things. But every now and then I would think, does it apply? Obviously, if the Wachowskis are saying that that's what it is, that's what they were thinking when they were writing it, then obviously that's what it is. But as I was watching it today, I was like, I guess I can kind of see how somebody would make that argument, and the idea of like living two worlds, and, one is real and the other one is a simulation, and that somehow being a representation of your sexuality, that kind of stuff. I mean, I find it a fascinating read, not one that ever came to mind until I read that people were saying that. So that's my other thing for the post credits, Alex. I am going to actually look up what the Wachowskis have to say in regards to that and The Matrix, and see if it's completely gone over my head, or if there's really people blowing it again out of proportion and it's just something else that they've said, or if it's a reading that they put in like after the fact. They're like, hey, funnily enough, The Matrix can also be read as this. So I don't know. I'm curious. I know that when I experience The Matrix, it's mostly as a pretty awesome sci-fi movie. And I mean, and this is I'm not saying it as a negative, but I don't feel like it has a whole lot of like a message. And maybe that's going to piss some people off, people that feel like the movie is very profound. I think that, especially as proven by the sequels, the more profound it tries to be, the worse it gets. So I enjoy it just kind of like as a kick-ass sci-fi action movie. How about you?
I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
First of all, I just learned that Matrix Reloaded is 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the fact that it's that close to the first one is absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And I think that it might be just a lot of early reviews. I think that there was, because I'll tell you, I didn't hate Matrix Reloaded until I watched Matrix Revolutions.
You don't like all the Sentinels forming the big anime face?
I mean, at that point, we had, it wasn't even that we jumped the shark. We had married the shark and gone on a honeymoon with the shark.
Oh, man, I'm remembering it now. I had a very brief period where I tried to convince myself that Revolutions wasn't as bad. And no. And Reloaded also sucks. That whole scene with the fucking architect, ergo, concordantly, vis-a-vis.
It is painful to watch if you like the first movie, because you can see how they grab those ideas and those characters and take them into a story, like in a direction that has nothing to do with what I wanted from the movie. And granted, it's their movie, not mine, right?
Yeah.
To suffer that disconnect from a filmmaker, right? You watch The Matrix and you're like, holy shit, we are in sync. You think it's cool. I think it's cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
You watch the sequels and like, what happened? Weren't we going over there? Why are we spending so much time in Zion? Why does everybody suck? Why does everybody talk like that? It's awful. Anyway, the Matrix. Let's focus on the original stuff. The thing that started it all.
In closing, that's all very frustrating. And yet it wasn't as bad as the final sequel would be. So that's where I'll close on that. Okay, so with The Matrix, the first one here, the movie we're talking about, our subject du jour, I think there is a message in here, but I think it's very broad strokes. And if the Wachowskis were here to talk about it, well, I don't know. I don't know what they wanted to do in the moment versus how much their ideas clearly spun out of control over the following 20 years. I think it's a broad message, and I think it's almost one open to one's interpretation of what is real, what's not, what are you blind to, what are you willfully ignorant to. I don't think it's a movie that should be used for radical conservative propaganda. I know that much because based on the creators and also some of the directions the subsequent sequels took, it's not necessarily some, Republican battle cry they're trying to make here. So I would think it is broad strokes is what I would accept as the idea of there's the world, and there's also a world separate from that, because that's something that literally every single person on this planet can relate to the idea of. So the main thing is I don't ever find myself getting lost in that because this movie's just so fucking cool. Like the action, the music, the look, the green tint. I love this movie so much. And we've had our fun with the sequels, and this is kind of where that discussion ends because we're here to talk about this first one. And man, I don't know if you want to call it lightning in a bottle or what you want to say. Living through this movie and seeing what we just talked about on TV and in film, the ways people attempted to mimic the look, approach, feel of this movie. And then also, because it was so immediately popular, all of the consistent parodies and, kind of jokes about this movie and dressing like Neo and Trinity for comedic effect, or I'm trying to remember. I think it's the first Scary Movie where Anna Faris does like the kick. She jumps up and does the big dramatic kick like Carrie-Anne Moss does at the beginning of this movie. So we are extremely hyperbolic on this podcast all the fucking time. Me more so than my co-host. But this movie was a cultural event any way you measure it. And living through that, I have a nostalgia for it, obviously. But every time I watch it, Julio, I'm just like, this movie fucking rules. Is it perfect? No. Some of the dialogue silly? Yes. But I don't care. Because it's this random dude plucked from obscurity to learn the secrets of how the world really functions in the future, and he can potentially save it. And to do so, he has to have all these extremely stylized fight sequences. And, okay, this could be a completely transformative viewing of this movie, Julio. I'm not sure if you saw, before we went on air, you relayed to me you had kind of a long day at work. So I'm not going to fault you if you didn't see Hulk Hogan died today. And
today?
Yeah, this morning news broke that he passed away at the age of 71. And I have had the strangest feeling all day surrounding that. Hulk Hogan is the reason so much in my life has happened. When I was 3 years old, I saw Hulk Hogan on TV, and I just mentioned being hyperbolic, and it's not being hyperbolic to say I would not have the life experiences I've had. I would not have traveled to the places I've traveled. I would not have the friends that I have. I would not have the memories that I've made if it was not for Hulk Hogan. But Hulk was a terrible person. He was a liar and a con man, a racist. He was someone who never saw the fault of his ways. He never seemed interested in making apologies or reparations for the things he did wrong. And unfortunately, by the end of his life, he was a symbol of pretty much everything that's wrong with modern society, and specifically America. So those two things, basically in my heart and in my brain, when I heard he died, ran into each other, like Neo and Smith, I guess, for what we're talking about here. And it just left me feeling numb. And it was a very strange feeling. And when I watched this movie, I felt all of the things. So I think this viewing experience I had today is I've always loved this movie, but today I was just like, fuck yes, like the fight scenes and the action and like the white room, the infinite white room where Morpheus explains what happens in the future, and in a more positive way. I always come to these when we do movies like this with the used to be better, shit sucks today, and in a more positive way. I don't know, maybe this filled kind of the void I had in my heart after hearing that news today of like a happy memory and a happy time coming from the way this movie is made with the practical effects. Because if I do want to do that used to be better, I'm going to tell you right now, 80% of the practical effects done in this movie would be CG by today's standards. And also hilariously, I just said we wouldn't talk about the sequels, but that's where shit really starts to suck in Reloaded and Revolutions is when they start CGing everything. And this is so awesome. Like Lawrence Fishburne, when he's fighting Smith, he flies into the wall and it crumbles around him. And that's really Larry Fishburne just flying into a wall. And, the choreography and the fight sequences is so fucking awesome.
The great Morpheus. We meet at last. And you are? A Smith. Agent Smith. You all look the same to me.
It's a real convoluted set of emotions I just explained, but today watching this movie, it took me back to when I was a 13-year-old boy. My dad, this was in the category of movies my dad deemed appropriate for me to watch as a 13-year-old because he thought it was so cool. I've told the story about T2 was the first one. I was like 8 when he showed me that movie though, so that's a different. No, I would have been 6. So I had my birthday party. It might have been my 13th birthday party. And we had a big tent set up in the backyard, and I had all my buddies sleep over. And my dad set up a TV for us out there. And he was like, after my mom went to bed, he brought the Matrix VHS out. And he was just like, you guys should watch this movie. And we did. And we were like, whoa, and like just all the crazy effects and the music and the look. I mean, that was fucking just revelatory shit for a 13-year-old. And then I do need to add is after that was over and the credits hit and the tape automatically rewound, my buddy Zach Flagar had snuck from his dad's collection the Jerry Springer Too Hot for TV VHS over to the party, and we put that on, and there was there's tits in that, so it was like the greatest night a 13-year-old boy could have. We watched The Matrix and then some boobs. So
you went from hearing Keanu go whoa to you yourself going whoa.
Yeah, we're all in our sleeping bags keeping a healthy amount of distance between each other, and so I hope some of the words I said just make sense as to why today's viewing of this kind of hit me. It just made me so happy. I guess I was in an emotional void, in a depth, and watching this, I was just like, dude, this movie fucking rules. And then the hilarity of it is during the course of this conversation, just getting mad about the sequels all over again. But I try to, for the sake of the podcast, and then also I always hate when I'm overly positive about something or when I'm overly negative about something, because I always feel like I'm leaving some card unturned as far as the narrative, or being like Cypher, ignorance is bliss. But I've always really, really liked this movie, and today's viewing of it just hit me particularly in that way. Do you think, Julio, having lived through it from your and I's perspective, adds a different wrinkle?
Yes.
Okay. I was about to say.
Absolutely. Because I think that if you watch the movie for the first time today, there's all of the novelty is not there anymore, which is sad. But, I guess that's just how it goes with movies that are groundbreaking, right? You have to make the extra effort to put yourself back in 1999 to really appreciate what they were doing that was groundbreaking. And, it's like what we do when we watch movies from like the 50s, the 60s, or the silent era or whatever, right? But it doesn't hit us the same way, or we need to work a little harder for it to hit us the same way. So, if you are a young person that can watch The Matrix and get that right away without prompting, man, that's awesome. But I know that I wouldn't, because I know that I have trouble with older movies, I have to really think about it and kind of rationalize it after the fact and be like, oh, when I think about it, it's pretty impressive. I don't have I have movies that make me feel the way that The Matrix makes you feel. I don't think The Matrix is one of them, but also I think it is tainted. We just can't stay away from the sequels, Alex, because they're just intertwined. It's not that they made movies that were completely separate. They literally took the story that they were telling here and continued it. And here's something. This is real talk, so I'm being 100% serious. If you have not watched the Matrix sequels, or if you haven't watched them in a while, I strongly suggest you never watch them again.
Agreed.
It's not worth it, and it might do to you what it has done to me, which is it has tainted the original a little bit, not in an overpowering way, but as I was watching it today, and I was having fun, and I was trying to be, funny on my notes and whatever. But I could, in the back of my head, I could sense that disenchantment that I've had since rewatching them. Like I said, last year, 2 years ago, it was whenever I guested on Binge Movies, and we talked about Reloaded and Revolutions. And, we talked about Revolutions, I think only. We talked about one of those, but I watched both of them. And just the idea that this awesome world that's being depicted here, that's teased, right? This mythology that we're getting glimpses of, and then the Wachowskis are letting us fill in the blanks in the best possible way. Like all that gets spelled out in the sequels in the most pretentious and interesting way possible. And so when I'm watching it here, I was having a really hard time not kind of rolling my eyes at the way that the people talk in this movie, which is not bad the way that in the sequels is bad. But I was like, oh, there it is. It's that tinge of pretension that becomes full-blown pretension in Reloaded and Revolutions. It's right there. So I am fairly positive that that's just a matter of time, that eventually it's going to wear out, and there will come a point in my life where I can just watch The Matrix without thinking about Reloaded and Revolution through the entire thing. But at this point, because it's a fairly recent watch, it was just there.
To say nothing of Resurrections.
See, I never even remember to bring up Resurrections. That movie doesn't even... The one good thing about that movie is that it doesn't really feel like it's part of The Matrix. It's so disconnected from everything else. Fishburne didn't even go back for it.
I told you this when I can't remember if it was on air or off. When we talked about that, I believe for an after hours or something, like that is a movie I remember. I can remember you getting mad talking about, which is very rare because you're a much more level-headed guy than me. But like you were getting like fired up talking about your just abject disdain for it. And I thought it sucks shit too. It just, in a macabre way, it has a warm place in my heart because I can hear Julio yelling.
But anyway, so there was that going on when I was watching it tonight. That I became aware of it. I was like, oh man, I'm having a good time, but I can't stop calling back Reloaded and Revolutions and that's a bummer because they really kind of, like I said, they taint the experience a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it is a movie that I've liked every time I've watched. Like I said, I don't have as strong a reaction as you do to it, but I think it's a good time. And like the really quick story that I remember is that I used this as my comfort movie. When I was living in College Station, I came back home one day and somebody had stolen my bike from outside my apartment.
Oh shit.
And it was the first time anybody had ever stolen anything from me, like in my entire life. And it was just this sense of trespass. I was like, how fucking dare you? Like, what is this world? The sense of injustice. Like I'd never, I've been, I might have told this story before on the show, or at least to you, but I got mugged once when I lived in Peru, and but that's different from somebody not even breaking into my apartment because my bike was locked on the outside, and they just took it. And I was like, how? And I remember kind of like reporting it to the police, knowing that nothing was going to come of it. And then just feeling uneasy the rest of the night. And I was like, I need to make myself feel better. So I just popped The Matrix in. And I was like, all right. And that kind of like calmed me down to where I could, because it's just such a fun movie. And you just see them kicking ass and looking cool and the music and everything.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? I don't want to be rich.
I think the DVD that I put on our Instagram, a picture of the DVD, that's the DVD I watched to make myself feel better after somebody stole my bike. I still own it. So I've had it for years and years. What, do you have a DVD, Blu-ray? What is it? How do you own it?
Yeah, I have hilariously, the Blu-ray set of the 3 movies.
2 of them collecting dust.
Correct. Coasters. Fancy coasters. And I still have the VHS copy that I watched when I was a 13-year-old boy, because like most of the VHSs from my family collection, I just absorbed into mine because they didn't care about them anymore. The box is like holographic on the Warner Brothers VHS.
Ooh.
It's very cool.
Is it the same cover of the Blu-ray? Just like the standard cover for the Matrix?
Well, the Blu-ray is the weird. It's like separated into thirds. It's like the posters from all 3 of them. That's something I also forgot to call out, was a very iconic 90s movie poster with Neo there and or fucking Keanu in the front, Carrie-Anne Moss. Joey Pants makes his way onto the poster, which is funny too.
Looking cool as hell. Everybody with their sunglasses.
So as far as like Matrix Ephemera goes too, I remember it was my sister was obsessed with this movie as a little kid. She got into the Animatrix and the Matrix Revisited she had on DVD that she watched a lot. And I remember from one of those that she had, I remember watching the making of The Kick that Carrie-Anne Moss did. And they built this cyclone of single still cameras and then put it together like a flip book, which is awesome. And fucking that, you're not going to see shit like that in Fantastic Four.
How do you know?
Dude. I'm done. So yeah, my sister loved this movie so much so that I remember she had like the toys and stuff. But one of the big things is my dad has like his garage area that, that's what men do, right? They have a garage where they go to drink and watch sports. And in that he's got like beer signs and he's got like pennants. He has a couple, you would get a kick out of you or saw it, Julio. He's got a couple Mylars that I gave him. That was just like, do you want these? And so like, there's like a Step Brothers one and I think a Dark Knight one hanging up in his little garage area.
That's awesome.
But I always remember near like his ashtray, there's a Cypher figure that just like hangs out there. And it's just Joey Pants with his sunglasses on and he's got the big fucking gun, like the weapon that he kills them with. And so, yeah, it's been an ever present thing in my family ever since it came out. And a lot of this is just coming to me now as we reflect.
Right. So you said you were going to try to be critical, like take off the nostalgia glasses, just put on your critic hat. If you had to say that something could be improved on this movie, what would that be?
Oh, I could. Yes, many things. One, Carrie-Anne Moss's intensity is so fucking awesome in this movie that the I love you thing completely betrays the Trinity character, in my opinion. Okay. Like, yeah. All right.
I was exaggerating. I was playing it up in Contrarians Corner, but on this rewatch, it really got me to think that they were trying to have their cake and eat it with Trinity and that love story. Right? It's like they want to have the badass chick that doesn't show emotion and, she kicks ass and whatever. And then at the end, we're going to reveal
it's revealed that she's waiting for her Prince Charming to sweep her off her feet.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it got me thinking that maybe it would have been, you have to basically completely change the approach to the character. And I don't know if I want a Trinity that is not the hardcore badass that she is here, but I guess, she can still be hardcore badass and maybe be a little more flirtatious with Neo, to where when that declaration of love, that acknowledgement, that confession that was like, you know what, I really, really like you. Feels a little more earned, because, she might think that he's hot, but telling somebody that you love him, even in a blockbuster, that's kind of like a big deal. And I didn't feel that they were there. I don't know. How do you feel about a Trinity that's a little more flirty with Neo? That's not all business all the time in this movie.
Yeah, it would help, because that was one of my first notes, that her intensity is great. And Carrie-Anne Moss is excellent in the role too. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem of her as an actress. I don't buy, especially in this role, the whole, I'm supposed to be in love with you. So if Neo was a bit more on the uptake or receptive to what was going on, it could have eased into the situation. But yeah, the way the movie plays it is just like, here's this badass girl and yeah, but she still needs a man. And it's also in this weird arranged marriage type situation of, you don't have a choice.
It's fate.
Yeah, it's presented as, I guess you could say she actually loves Neo, so she thinks he's the one. But yeah, it's kind of unnecessary. Here, let's do this. Let's move that whole potential romance to the sequels. That way we don't have to worry about it and just keep her a badass in this movie.
Yeah. She can still, she leans over and she tells him, "I believe in you." And that brings him back. And you're like, oh. And
or she just says something like, "I know you're the one."
Yes.
And then we learn later what that means.
Or even, she might not even know at that point. That's, she just says, "I believe in you." And then in the sequel, you can kind of buy that they've gone through so much. That's the thing. How long does this movie take in time? And I guess, Keanu is in recovery for probably a month, right? They have to rebuild his muscles, but that's not time that he spends interacting with Trinity. So as far as actual time that he spends with this woman, it's not even a week, I would say. So it's Titanic all over again. It's Romeo and Juliet all over again.
I already said the part about Keanu. If you're not into him, this probably isn't going to be your bag. I had made light of it in Contrarians Corner. I think it is kind of cool that the big swerve is that Joey Pants turns, but then the bigger swerve is that he immediately gets killed.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I'm curious for you. It's very easy to make fun of Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith in this. Do you really find his speech grating? Because I always think he's pretty fantastic in this. He
is. I just have to be very objective and remove. That's probably one of the biggest problems in the sequels, just what they do with that character and how they take what he's doing here and then play it up to where it's just comical, but almost unintentionally comical. So again, I was watching this and I was feeling those echoes of like, oh my God, they really fuck up the Agent Smith character moving forward. And they take his way of speaking here and they turn it into parody in the other ones. But again, if I make the effort, I can be like, you know what? This is a pretty awesome take on a bad guy. And you were 100% right in Contrarians Corner that his "I hate it here" speech is amazing.
Oh, it fucking rules, dude.
I had forgotten that it was there. I had forgotten that was the big reveal about his motivations. This dude is just fucking sick of his job.
This zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it, I can't stand it any longer.
He's a good actor. Was this his big thing? From here, he went to Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, and that's you've called me on that before. Like, when I reference him as Agent Smith, you say whatever his name is in Lord of the Rings.
Oh God, Elrond, I think maybe. Or he's V.
I don't know,
because it was like, I think that was his trifecta. He did Matrix, Lord of the Rings, and then V for Vendetta.
And he's an MCU guy now, right?
Oh, he's a Red Skull. Yeah.
Oh yes. Maybe that's what you correct me on.
If I can ever bring up somebody's stint in the MCU, I will, because I know that annoys you.
He was also in Legends of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole. So there you go.
Still in the Zack Snyder waters. He is a very interesting actor. I mean, to have had that run, right? Because he has a very, this is what you like to say, Alex. He doesn't look like your standard leading man or antagonist or whatever. He has a very particular look. But it's definitely The Matrix opened the doors for him to have a little bit of a leading man career. I mean, he's not a leading character in Lord of the Rings, but he's kind of like a big character. And then, yes, V for Vendetta, he's wearing a mask most of the time. But still, it's his voice and it's his role. So he became a big deal. He's in Hacksaw Ridge. Is that the Mel Gibson movie?
Yeah.
He has a part in it. He's really good. So overall, I mean, he became Hugo Weaving after this. And that's probably, like, everybody else well, I guess him and Carrie-Anne Moss were the big discoveries, revelations in the franchise. Like Joey Pants was already Joey Pants, and of course Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu Reeves were pre-established, but they went on and they had, I think, him probably more than Carrie-Anne Moss. I know Carrie-Anne Moss from obviously Memento, and then more recently she was in one of the Netflix MCU shows, but she didn't, I think Trinity is probably the most high-profile thing she's ever done.
Yeah, I would have to say, definitely.
I mean, that's kind of, I never want to say weird, because I know that that's just the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes. But you would think that everybody that was in the Matrix would go on and just, would have something, experience similar to the one that Hugo Weaving had. Where it's like, oh, the Matrix, and then big thing, big thing, big thing, and then he's set for life. I guess, Carrie-Anne Moss is probably set for life too, but.
It's a tremendous segue, Julio, being that this is the thing she's most known for, as at the 2000 MTV Movie Awards, hosted by Carrie Bradshaw herself, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Wow.
Carrie-Anne Moss was nominated for the role of Trinity for Breakthrough Female Performance. She was nominated alongside Shannon Elizabeth for American Pie, Selma Blair for Cruel Intentions, Hilary Swank for Boys Don't Cry, because all four of those movies are the same thing. And they all lost out to Julia Stiles for 10 Things I Hate About You.
Come on. I like 10 Things I Hate About You, and I like Julia Stiles in that movie and overall. But again, hindsight is 2020. You look back, and you're like, out of all those movies, Trinity is the one character that I think became more iconic. Then again, Hilary Swank got an Oscar, so.
God, that movie is fucking brutal.
I still haven't seen it because it seems like a rough watch.
Yeah. Elsewhere, The Matrix was nominated for Best Male Performance. Keanu Reeves ended up taking it home, beating out Bruce Willis for The Sixth Sense, Adam Sandler for Big Daddy, which we're covering Big Daddy coming up, correct?
Yep, that's the next one.
Okay. Ryan Phillippe for Cruel Intentions, and Jim Carrey for Man on the Moon, a movie we'd previously discussed. I got like a two-parter because we did the actual movie and then we circled back to
the
Jim and Andy, the documentary. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Do you think that Keanu, he works in the movie, obviously. It's a Keanu role. He works it, right? Can you fathom a Matrix where Neo is played by someone else and that it still works the way that this one does?
Nicolas Cage. I know Kung Fu. No.
At this point, it's just it's solidified, right? He's Neo.
Yeah. It'd be like, changing who, like who else would be Rocky,
Yeah, you have to instead make a movie about Apollo Creed's son.
Not that would ever happen. I'm looking here at the musical performances. Metallica, this would have been a teaser or in promotion for the release of Mission Impossible 2. They performed I Disappear live.
Oh, that's awesome. Must watch.
That is fucking awesome. Yeah. Let's see here. In conjunction with the success of Sex and the City, the awards show presented a parody of Sex and the City and The Matrix during the program's opening. It featured the Sex and the City cast as they listened intently as Carrie Bradshaw describes getting caught in the Matrix, which is shown in flashbacks and in the narration style usually heard on the TV series. Lawrence Fishburne appeared in the spoof in a creative superimposition from the film, as well as Vince Vaughn playing the supposed White Rabbit and Jimmy Fallon, who played the Keanu Reeves character Neo.
You had my attention and you lost it.
Yeah. Might have to find that. Okay, so let's just get through it here. It was nominated for a few other awards as well. Best on-screen duo for Larry Fishburne and Keanu Reeves. They were nominated alongside Adam Sandler and the boy from Little Daddy, Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment from Sixth Sense, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen from Toy Story 2, and of course they all lost out to Mike Myers and Vern Troyer for Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Mini-Me Mania.
Best action sequence, the rooftop helicopter scene, which fucking rules, was nominated alongside Sand Monster scene from The Mummy, which we've covered.
Yeah.
The ending sequence from the Blair Witch Project, which is just one of the most memorable things I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, but action?
But I don't make the rules here.
There's no rules.
It's going to make a lot of sense when I tell you what the winner is here in about 2 seconds. The pod race from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yeah.
George Lucas. I know I've told you, I guess this one has to be it because I just remember him at the podium accepting an award and saying, "Get ready because Sam Jackson is going to win Best Fight when we release Attack of the Clones or Episode 2 or whatever he called it." I'm like, all right.
Speaking of Best Fight, Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne took that home. They beat out Edward Norton versus himself in Fight Club, Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor versus Ray Park in Phantom Menace, and Mike Myers versus Vern Troyer in Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Man, the Darth Maul fight is amazing. I would have to give it
rules.
to that. But with the caveat that you have to cut out the...
Duel of the Fates?
Yes. Yeah. You have to cut out all the Jar Jar Binks stuff that is intercut in that sequence.
I mean, if you just cut out... Where's the fan cut of Episode 1 with no Jar Jar Binks?
I am pretty sure it exists. It's the internet. The way it was meant to be.
17 minutes long. And the big one, The Matrix took home Best Movie, beating out The Sixth Sense, Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me, American Pie, and American Beauty. Wonderful.
Strong showing for America overall.
Given out by Mel Gibson, by the way. He presented Best Movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, I guess makes sense. MAGA and all that. Do you agree with the best action sequence being the helicopter thing?
Oh, dude, it's so awesome when the helicopter crashes in, because I love how when they're plugged in, the wave reverberations of sound, because things don't register like they really should. And when the helicopter crashes, it sends that wave, and that shot of Trinity coming away. Oh, dude, it's so fucking sick. Because if you want to be, if you really want to, you can say that whole sequence starts from the rooftop when they're dodging bullets. It goes through him catching Morpheus. And so you could say it's like, one of those 10-minute action sequences.
Gotcha. I think, I mean, obviously they cheated that they didn't, but, because they gave the award to a separate nomination, an award to Neo and Morpheus fighting. And I think I would give it to that. I made fun of it in Contrarians Corner, but I actually think it's pretty awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah. That, and I think, though, I like even more as far as like fight choreography goes at the end when Neo becomes aware of his powers and he's just effortlessly dodging all the attacks that Hugo Weaving's throwing at him. I love that so much.
He put his arm behind his back.
Yeah, because the look on his face, too, is it's all registering with him. It's great. Yeah. Either way, not a bad choice any way you cut it.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know if I've thought about any of those scenes as much in my life as I've thought of the ending sequence of the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, but that's so different.
It very much is. That's not an action sequence, dog. Because we're here, and we'll be circling back to the 2000 MTV Movie Awards in our next episode for Big Daddy. But Best New Filmmaker went home with Spike Jonze for Being John Malkovich, a previously covered entry.
That is a hell of a year, 1999.
It was a wild time. Do need to give a shout out to the Academy Awards it took home. The 4 awards it was nominated for, of course, all technical awards it took home, being Best Film Editing, Best Sound Editing, and Best Visual Effects.
Billy Crystal come out dressed as Neo.
I'm pretty sure that would have been the 2000 Academy Awards.
Actually, he probably came out of a pod, and he was all shaved.
Yes, and all gooey and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the year American Beauty took home Best Picture and kind of dominated with directing and Christopher Plummer winning. So The Matrix just had to settle for the technical awards. Now, Julio, I do ask you, American Beauty, Cider House Rules, Green Mile, The Insider, The Sixth Sense. This was one of those years where you could nominate up to 10 movies. Matrix definitely would have gotten one, don't you think?
Like if it hadn't, it was like, what else are you putting in there?
Yeah, we're living in this post-Dark Knight world where they every year feel they have to nominate some sort of box office pleaser.
So wait. So you're saying Matrix gets it before Blair Witch Project gets it?
Absolutely. But from your vantage point, Magnolia gets it before The Matrix gets it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they better.
We've done that. We've had an episode. We talked about how amazing the movie is, but I always forget when it was the prestigious 5 nominations, The Sixth Sense got nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
M. Night, dog, what happened? All right. That's The Matrix. We could be here and have been at least for 2 hours currently. we'll probably go on for another 30 or 40 minutes in our post credits over on YouTube because there's still some fun stuff to talk about.
Grant Morrison certainly thinks so.
There you go. I got to talk about the video games and also the potential other casting. So we'll keep it on task for that. But it's a movie that I obviously have a sentimental attachment to, and my viewing today came at just about the perfect time that it could have. I mean, this is, for me, it's what people say it is. It's not above reproach. It ain't perfect. It's not like a movie you watch and at the end of it, you're like, there is nothing that can be better about that movie. But I still think it's great. So I give this movie an A.
I'm going to land on 4 stars. This might crawl up to 4.5 in 2 years, 5 years, once I've completely washed off the stink from the sequels, from Reloaded and Revolutions specifically.
We've had fun with that, but the stink is very real.
It is. And I was serious. I mean, it is real talk. So I was being serious. Do not watch them. They're not worth it. You might think that they're better now. No. At best, just go online and read articles about them. But they're just so bad and they just stay with you. They're Edward Norton in Fight Club when he beats up Jared Leto. And he says, I just wanted to ruin something beautiful. That's what they do.
I think 4.5. I didn't give my star, but yeah, I would say that's where I settle. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Julio.
Oh yeah, no. It's 4.5. It's right there. I'll probably say 4 now, and it can't be, something that you said at the beginning, and it really can't be said enough. Just the cultural turning point that this was, that kind of it can be taken for granted today. Right. And it can only perhaps be appreciated if you lived through it and you had some time to appreciate that as well. Because like I told you, I didn't see it as it was happening. Instead, it's just looking back, I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, there is like before the Matrix and after the Matrix. Yep. That's just how it is. So, yeah, definitely. For some reason, you haven't seen the Matrix, watch it. If you haven't seen it in a while, watch it. It holds up. But that's it for the Matrix. Alex, we have 1 episode left, the end of the journey, and we already mentioned it a couple of times. Can you believe that we're ending the Summer of the Bangers with Adam Sandler?
Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?
Seems as though it was written for us, Julio. Seems fortuitous.
Big Daddy. I've never seen it. You have seen it, and you had mixed feelings when I announced it as my final pick on the draft.
Oh, I thought you were going to say about the movie. I was like, don't worry, they're not mixed.
All right. We should have fun. It's rotten. So whatever Alex's feelings, mixed or not, are, he's going to have to put them aside and be positive about Big Daddy. I just did a QVR of a newish Sandler movie Hustle. Mm-hmm. So I have Sandler in the brain. But this is much older Sandler. We're going back to Sandler before he had the beard and the respectability. He was just a Happy Madison guy. It'll be fun. It should be fun. It's the last time we did that Sandler movie was during the Summer of Winona. So he always finds a way to sneak into our summer events. Moving on to Patreon, Alex. I have to ask, because we have something planned for the after hours. We have something penciled in, and that is another MTV tie-in. But usually, I would expect you to do some sort of Hulk Hogan retrospective. Or is that something that it's not within the bounds of what you would like to do in an after hours?
If you would be open to it, my suggestion was going to be that we do Rocky 3. Because that's the movie that propelled him to superstardom. And I think, that there's not really much to talk about. So we can use that as like our Hulk Hogan discussion, because I don't want to do another movie that he's the star of. So what is the movie we had on tap?
Our last MTV Movie Awards tie-in is a documentary about basketball, Hoop Dreams, that I own on Criterion.
Why don't we just plan for The Matrix to have a 2-part after hours? We'll do Hoop Dreams for one and then Rocky 3 for the other.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Going out in style.
That's what Terry would have wanted.
Yes. Pair him with a critically acclaimed basketball documentary. It's like, brother, have you heard of basketball?
Who's shooting the ball, dude?
That is, by the way, that's best filmmaker, best new filmmaker. That's the award that they give, right? Yeah, it's I don't remember which year, but we'll talk about it. So that's the after hours. We save that for the end, but we're putting it at the beginning. Other stuff going on. We have a dual QVR for Doctor Strangelove, which is a pick from Jordan Mance's top 100 movie list. And then for the bonus episode, courtesy of patron Ryan, it's the movie Who Killed Captain Alex. We shall find out before the month is over, Alex. Is it a mystery?
I need to know.
Who is Captain Alex? I think that's the first movie. And then the second one is Who Killed Captain Alex? Anyway, patreon.com/Contrarian Prime. Check that out. And now let's get out of here, Alex.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
Just for old time's sake, I really don't care who you see and how much money you make to get